Okay, hello. This is what I think about feminism. Okay, this is my third time doing the video. I haven't researched feminism. I haven't listened to the Wikipedia article of it. I watched a couple of videos on YouTube, but it wasn't any informative at all. It was just like somebody going around a campus going like, "What do you think about feminism?" People like, "Oh, I don't know, women who hate men." Oh, so that's all I know. So I mean, this first time I did a video, I can't remember what I said, but then I kind of lost. Somehow it got erased before I could upload it. And then I tried it again when I was on 12 beers and my brain wasn't working right. So here's take three. I got the idea of doing feminism because I watched some lady do videos. I guess she's a feminist and she's talking about feminism. And then I guess there's some kind of like civil war going on with the feminists because there's some feminists who say that prostitution is bad for feminism. And then some other feminists are like, oh no, prostitution is good for feminism. So anyways, as far as that argument goes, it's some like Portuguese chick with like 70,000 subscribers, and I can't remember her name though. Zitzgumchris, I think. Zitgumchris. I hate it when people have these fucking weird ass names. Just use your real name. I don't remember it. But anyways, yeah, dude, I think prostitution is good for feminism because women are going to do it anyways, and if you have it legal, then they get money. Don't you want to get paid money for easy work? I screwed this prostitute, this really hot blonde girl, when I was in Amsterdam, and she was loving it, man. She loved her job, dude. I mean, I only did it because I was like wasted, drunk, and stoned, and it was like something to do. And anyways, you lay on top of her and you fuck her, but she had her top on, and I was like, "Oh, show your titties," and she's like, €10 a titty. I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "Well, be naked," and she's like, "Do a spin for me." Oh, that's €10. I was like, Jesus, dude. But she's loving it. She's making tons of money. So there you go. So anyways, that's that. They were saying that men who are in like pornos or stuff get paid a lot less anyways. So it's like, what? Anyways, okay, so what do I think about feminism? Jesus, I went a little from that. What do I think about feminism? Well, okay, I'm a feminist, okay? Feminism is people who try to make it so that women have as much status in society as men. That's it. Because women, since the beginning of time, have had way less status in society. So now you got to do the affirmative action thing. I mean, I did a video about affirmative action, and I like affirmative action. You know, I mean, as soon as one group of people get too far ahead, and they catch up, and it's like, okay, turn off affirmative action, and then you turn it off. It's something you want to keep monitoring, and you obviously want to turn off at one point, but I guess they say that women. I mean, there should be a feminist website. I don't know if there is. I should look around and see if there is one. But they should create a rubric on exactly how much money guys and guys and women's get for the same job, because they see that women get paid less than guys. So I want to know how much. I don't want to know why. I don't want to know. But we want to make it so that they get paid the same. Obviously, I agree with that. I mean, it's good. It'll work out good for men that way, because then women will have less of a reason to try and get men to buy them stuff. And that's not right. When women try and get men, if women don't try and get men to buy them stuff for nothing, then it reduces confusion, and the less amount of confusion and the more straightforward black and whiteness in terms of relationships go is better, because confusion creates animosity, which creates fighting and problems, and so you don't want any of that. It's just the guy pays this, the girl pays this when they're getting into whatever sexual relationship, and take care of themselves, because the woman gets as much as the guy. Now, do women spend more than men? I mean, should women make more money because they spend more, right? Cause like on like makeup and like tampons and stuff? No, because guys generally buy stuff that's more expensive, bikes and stuff, It's just how it is. I would like it if, women spend as much on toys as guys did, but so if you're going to talk about feminism, let's talk about history of feminism and the future of feminism, and not just the present of feminism. History of feminism. One really interesting thing about feminism, or women's status in society, is how men didn't like women and didn't want women to participate in politics, and actually called women evil. It's shocking if you study history. I watched this documentary on ancient Greece. The birth of democracy, and the Greeks considered women to be evil. Whatever evil means in Greek, that's still a pretty harsh word. And they didn't want to have them participate at all in politics. Now, the big question is why? They didn't answer that, and I've never heard anybody answer that, so I'm going to go ahead and do my best answering it now. Why do men not want women? Okay, well, in past, the person who was always the boss man was Mr. Macho. I'm going to kill you. Mr. Violent guy was the guy who's the boss, physically. It's all about physicalities. And women just aren't like that. They're a lot smaller, weaker than men physically. And so, if a woman and a man get in an argument, in a primitive society, a man's going to win because he's going to smack the girl, push her down, and then she's going to be done arguing for the day because she doesn't want to get hurt. Well, it's the same thing, the guy who's a king is a big strong man. And along those lines, when you want to go to war, people are going to war all the time. The people who go to war are the men because they're the better fighters. Now, the people who go to war, who are the men, are going to be more into the idea of going to war than a woman. So if you're like in the hut and you're in a violent society like Europe, the people who are going to be calling out for war are going to be the men, and the women are going to be like, well, war is not our thing. It's not what we do. They're probably not going to identify with that whole honor thing about we have to fight them, and because if we don't, then we're going to lose our honor, or they're going to take us over. And women would probably be thinking like, let them take us over, I mean, what's the difference between paying taxes to these guys or paying taxes to this fucking guy? You don't know him personally, just let him just work the fields and, turn the other cheek, be like Jesus, and that's probably what men were saying. And women probably got very adamant about that, as I would. I'd be like, come on, man, we're peasants. Just fuck our king, let them, when they came over and took over, they didn't hurt us, But then the guy would be like, no, our king, protect him. So anyways, women probably got adamant about that. And so then the guys figured the only way that they would shut those women up is if they just ban them from meetings. So then you just make it so that women aren't allowed to participate in politics at all. And then that carries over, and that carries over, and that carries over. And also, war. The leader is the guy who's actually in the battle doing the war, and women just didn't do that. I think if a woman did do that, she would be a great leader. For example, Boudica. The English woman who fought against the Romans, she was out there leading. And she, she did fine. Probably because she was out there leading physically, like Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc was out there in the front lines leading. That's how she got captured. She was too much in the front lines in a battle and got captured. But, Mila Jovovich, she's like, it's especially hard for a woman to get men to follow you. I don't agree with that, dude. I think the reason that there weren't more Joan of Arcs is because there weren't more women crazy enough to be Joan of Arc, I think if you get any 17-year-old girl running around on the back of a horse going, let's go, guys can be like, yeah, it's going to motivate them. Women just didn't think like that, I don't think, I think women also are a little bit, the way that their brains are programmed is they're a little bit more social beings, which has its strengths and its weaknesses. The weaknesses as far as being a social being. All right, well, let's talk about the strengths first as far as being a social being. The strengths first as far as being a social being is that you can bring people together in a civilized society. You can bring people together, hey, you, because they're conniving and like talk about people behind their back and they use their brains instead of their brawn. And so then they're like making plans and all this stuff, and it'll be good in the future. I think there is a time when maybe coming up when women are actually going to be more involved in social stuff and, more politically active or whatever. But, bring people together. They're into the consensus, being in tune with that. They watch more TV and stuff. I don't know. But anyways, the weaknesses for that is you're more susceptible to getting brainwashed by the mass consensus. And I think women are more susceptible to getting brainwashed by the mass consensus. And so, a bunch of women, they all decide hundreds of years ago that they're not warriors and they're not going to go out there and fight. So they just don't do it, ever. And if a woman does it, then uh-oh. Because I think women are a lot more susceptible to embarrassment, like worrying about what people think about them. Oh no, if I go out there and I fight against those Angevins, oh no, they're going to talk trashy about me and I'm going to be weird. Oh no, I'd rather not do that, generally. So she did that and people were like, whoa, and then she became a freaking legend. So, But so, anyways, that's I think that's the history, and that's like why. And I think another reason why men maybe didn't want women involved in politics and maybe even thought they're evil, because gotta say it, gotta be honest here, period, being on the rag. What is it, like 25% of the time women are just like emotional and they lose it and then they freak out and they're yelling, and you don't want somebody like that to be on the head of to be a leader of people. Somebody who freaks out and yells and starts saying nonsense. Like my wife and my mom. I mean, next thing you know, out of the blue, it's just and you suck and they hate you and whoa, and it's like, okay, did any of that make sense? I don't remember anything that they said because none of it made sense. And you can't have somebody who's going to be like that 25% of the time. So as the leader, so maybe that's why the whole. But as far as the future, well, are women going to be able to be leaders in the future, even though they have their little emotional problems when their brains go haywire? And yeah, I think so, because human beings get a lot more wiser, and we're actually morphing into another human being. We're going to have more control of our emotions. I mean, men in the past freaked out and got emotional too, and had wrath of temper and off with his head, and die, and I'm terrible, and people, and people in third world countries are fascinating to look at, because it's kind of like peering into the past, but it's still like that. Like if you're going to look at politicians and their booth doing their diplomatic thing, in the third world country, you're going to see them yelling at each other, fist fighting each other, cutting each other off, and if you're going to try and have to hang out with people, you're going to see people yelling at each other, and whoever talks the loudest and interrupts the most is the guy who's going to win the argument or get the people to follow him, like in a third world country. And people like women freaking out in third world countries, being hot-headed and losing their heads. And then you look at, high society and like educated people in America, and, nobody actually does that. And they do it less and less, decade after decade, year after year, they do it less and less. And I think within like our generation, that whole like women on the rag being all grumpy and saying a bunch of nonsense for no reason is going to kind of become a thing of the past. And women, physically, I think you're going to become more like men. Mentally and physically become more like men, and men are going to become more like women. The differences are going to close in together. But, of course, women are always women, men are always men. That's what keeps the excitement of being alive, being fascinated by the other person. Ooh, so pretty, yeah. So, yeah, so maybe, women are going to take over in terms of, I think they actually will. I'm going to say that right now. I think women are actually going to take over in terms of politics and stuff, political stuff, and bringing people together. And I want to see that. I mean, I could never have a relationship with a woman, like a sexual relationship. And I don't even know if I could actually even be friends with a woman who's not a feminist, because, well, I'm very averse, as far as relationships go, I'm very averse to paying for a woman. I don't ever want to do that again, because I've been there and I've done that, and I feel like I wasted way too much money, and it doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you more and more of a tool as time goes on, and you have to pay more and more, and there's less and less thanks there, and it's like, okay, no more of that. But also, yeah, so I would, I mean, if I ever get the time, I'd like to figure out a way to, I would vote for a president just because it's a woman. I don't want to I don't know if I'd work for a woman though, man. I don't know, man. I've worked for a couple of women and they were crazy, dude. One lady freaking out. But I've worked for guys who are bad too, so. Yeah, no, I'd work for a woman. But anyways, I would like to see women in power. But as far as like differences between men and women in the future, I'd like to see women, as far as morphing of the human bodies changing. I think people are going to live longer, we're going to be smarter, our brains are going to be more powerful, women and men. But physically, I'd like to see women catch up to men as well. Women are so much freaking smaller and weaker than men. It's ridiculous. I don't like that. I'm the kind of guy who likes, physically capable women. Women can't even run as fast as men. What's the deal with that? They're so much smaller. You'd think they'd be able to run as fast. I think only one woman in the history of humankind has ever won a freaking marathon. Kara Goucher a couple years ago. That's it. I mean, come on. Somebody in, but I think that's going to happen. I think estrogen is going to morph into a hormone that's as strong as testosterone. I want to see women pound for pound as strong as men, and also as big. I want to see women as big and as tall as men, and I think it'll happen. I think in the future women will be as big and as tall as men. I think the only reason that they were smaller than men is because there's a limited amount of food in society, and you only needed one kind of person to be out there being strong, and it's kind of like a natural Darwinistic response to keeping the sexes in their proper place, because if the sexes get out of their place, I mean, that's the only thing I can answer. I'm like, why are women shorter and weaker than men? I think it was because if women were as big and as strong as men always in the past, then there would be nobody. There'd be no order. There'd be nobody taking care of babies, and then the babies would die, and then the species would go away, right? I don't know, dude. Maybe somebody else has the answer to that. But we're not in that survival of the fittest animals stage anymore. We're moving out of it, and we're eventually going to move into a place where there's even no difference between men and women at all, right? The gray aliens, they're only 52,000 years in the future. There's no difference between men and women. And I think humans are going to get there too. I mean, in 50,000 years, I think there's going to be a difference between men and women and humans, but it's going to get less and less until you're in, angel godly realms, and it's all the same freaking sex. But so like we're talking about the actual advancement, step by step, and exactly how it's going to happen. Well, I think it's going to begin by women becoming physically as capable as men, as strong, as tall, as big, and muscular as men. Only they're women. There's no reason why they wouldn't be. And I think men, though, are also going to get more big and strong and robust as well. But with the differences still there. But anyways, I think women, in order to help feminism along, I think what men should do is basically stop wanting women to be women. Stop making women be traditional, be in the house cooking all the time, and encourage women to do stuff that men do. Sports, adventure, jobs that involve leadership, and women should also do the same thing, and not try to take advantage of the advantages that women have over men these days, as far as getting men to pay for everything that they pay for them all the time, and not being as reliable. I worked for a guy, and I was like, oh, you should hire a woman. She's like, no way, dude. I've had women work for me. They're not as reliable, so I don't know. I've had a lot of experience. This is one thing I want to talk about. Women have a lot less of a problem getting angry and yelling at a man and being rude to a man than a man would to a woman. Like, men are a lot more polite towards women than women are towards men. At least in my experience. And women should definitely not do that, because they're going to lose respect. At least for me, lose respect, and they're not going to help their cause. So, I think that's basically some things that people should do. And just give women as much of a chance as far as anything, even if it's a physical thing, if it's like the army, let the women come and join the army of like soldiers who have to haul shit around all the time. And if a woman has to be small, just treat her like a small man and just help her, there's plenty of physical things that women can do better than men anyway. What if you need the guy to jump in the hole with the pistol to root out the gooks, get the woman to go in there because she can fit, so just kind of a thing. But yeah, women are like, ooh, I don't know cars. Every once in a while I have to get jump started. Women never know how to open their hood. It's fucking crazy. And they don't know which direction north is either. And it's like, I think that's part of feminism. Women should learn how to open the hood of the car, and they should know how to jump start a car, and they should know which way direction north is, and actually value knowing which direction north is. And, men, I guess, there's some things that women are better than men as far as mentally concerned. They know colors. So men try and learn colors better than women. But, I would That's about what I have to say about women, dude. Whatever. I mean, feminism. I should probably do a feminism part 2 after I read the Wikipedia article. I know something about it, but anyways, I'm for feminism, man. I want to see women be in control and stuff. I'm about it, dude.